let's talk airplanes and Australian Airlines. One of my claims to fame within my friendship group, and sometimes how I get introduced, is the person who sued Qantas, which is pretty funny. So a couple of years back, Qantas kicked me off a flight, and then I got pushed to Jetstar, and then they pushed me onto Virgin, and it was just a schmozzle, and I was very, very dirty because I had been in Canberra for a funeral and then had to get down to Tasmania for a wedding, and it was just a chaotic kind of week, and I live in Melbourne. And I was like, well, at the time I had Qantas Club, because this is pre-COVID and I was doing a lot of traveling to Sydney for work, and I had Qantas Club, and I knew I was going to get a meal, and I was going down to regional Tasmania for a wedding, late at night on a Friday. I was like, there's not going to be nothing open. So I bought myself some food and a drink at the airport because I knew I wasn't really going to get anything else. And then I rang up Qantas and I said, hey, well, I'd like to put in my claim. And they said, well, you should read the terms and conditions because we only have to get you from A to B. We could get you there via ship if we wanted to. And I was like, well, I am a shipping lawyer. So I'm a transport lawyer, and I've read your T's and C's, and you didn't do anything that you were supposed to do. And now I'm angry. And this was maybe $40. But it was the principle of the thing, because it was just not the week to test me. And I was just so aggravated as to how that had happened. And so I went through the ombudsman. So I did it all the right thing. Like I referred to all their T's and C's, I got it out, I printed it out, and I highlighted the clauses and said, well, you didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and you're in breach, blah, blah, blah. And they gave me like my money back, and then like some points as well. Because obviously if you don't fly, you don't get the points. And I was like, well, I want the points because I've paid for this, and I could have saved literal cash by cancelling my if you'd let me cancel and then rebook. And so, but I was still incensed because I was like, no, you lied to me. Your call center lied to me. So I referred it to the ombudsman and was like, the call center lied to me about my legal rights under the Australian consumer law. And I'm incensed about that. Anyway, the ombudsman got back to me, and I think the general counsel of Qantas had to write to them and be like, we've resolved it, blah, blah, we paid her, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this lawyer probably hates me. And anyways, I was like, okay, well, that's the end of it. I feel somewhat vindicated, but not entirely. But anyways, a couple of months later, see on the front page of all the newspapers that the ACCC has cracked down on all the airline carriers because their call center staff, the scripts that they have, were incorrectly telling people that they didn't have rights when they did have rights, and they were misleading them, and they were saying you don't have these rights when they actually did under law, and they had to change all of their scripts because they were blatantly misleading customers. And I was like, I will take a bit of credit for that. Because that is what happened to me, and I kicked up enough of a stink. Anyways, I went to Sydney last week and the week before. I flew Jetstar, don't normally do it. It was all last minute, etc., etc. And so I paid for it with my time. So the first week went up, 2-hour delay in the plane on the tarmac. On the way back, 2-hour delay, just drip feeding the time. Very tired by the end of it. On the way up this week, the week just gone, we diverted to, there was a storm. And look, don't get me wrong, safety first. Safety first always, but how many mechanical issues are you guys having? So on the way up, we got diverted so Melbourne to Sydney got diverted to Canberra to refuel. And everyone's like, sorry, can we back this up? We can't land, we don't have enough fuel, we're going to Canberra. Like, all of this sucks. And so we get up, a couple of hours late, very exhausting. On the way back, I picked the 12:25 p.m. flight on the Friday. I wake up to a text, your flight has been cancelled due to mechanical issues. And I was like, my brother in Christ, how many mechanical issues can you guys have? I need you to get on top of this. And so it's like, pick the flight that you want. Okay. I picked the 9:30 a.m. flight because I was like, let's just get out of here. Spidey senses were tingling. Let's get out of here. This is 6:30 in the morning, get up, have a shower, check out, have breakfast, do all those things. get a taxi to the airport because I'm like now under the pump. And I was just like, we need to get there so we can check our bag. Get the text. Oh, we've had to bump a few of you to the 6:30 p.m. flight. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm at the airport for my 9:30 replacement flight. And I get there and it is just chockers at the airport. The line for the service counter was hectic and I was like, I'm not doing this. I walk over to the Qantas terminal, I book a flight, and I just pay an extraordinary amount of money. And this is a privilege. This is absolutely a privilege. But I was like, I just want to get home. So I'm in the taxi on the way home from the airport in Melbourne. I get a text. Sorry, your 6:30 p.m. Jetstar flight has now been cancelled. Please seek accommodation and file your accommodation claims and other things. And I was like, I would have cried actual tears of despair. And so I was like, well, and then I was like, oh, you can cancel your flight. I'm like, cancel my flight. I want a refund. And I have travel insurance. I have not tested this travel insurance. I've put in a claim for this travel insurance, so we shall see what happens. And then the next day, on Saturday, which I would have still been in Sydney because my 6:30 p.m. flight had been cancelled on top of my 12:25 flight, so they'd cancelled 2 of my flights. All the Airbuses got grounded. All the Jetstar planes got grounded because of the solar flare software patch. And I was like, I have never been more vindicated in a decision in my life. So I've put in the travel claim documentation with AIG. It was when I booked the Jetstar flight. So would you like travel insurance? I was like, yeah, sure. Because one of my friends had talked about how they'd had an issue interstate. And I was like, oh, I've never really thought about like having travel insurance for interstate because, you know, what's the worst that can happen? And yeah, I will keep you all posted to see if I get my money back and get even more vindication. But yes, sometimes trust your gut. Sometimes trust your gut and trust your intuition on this.